foundation must come first. And Jim and I just talked a little bit about, his dog does really well in the field, it sounds like. Hunting wise, really good. Hunted very young, had a lot of instinct, natural, hunt. But his struggle right now is not the hunt part. It's the control part and the foundation part and the stuff that he does probably 95% of the time year round, or more than that maybe, is where the struggles are. Well, that to me tells me that's where we need to focus. The hunt stuff will come. Hunting is easy. Training dogs to hunt is easy because it's been genetically programmed into them for years and years and years. It's foundational work that we need to work on the most because that's the stuff that isn't there all the time. So with basketball, I make a comparison. I can teach a kid to play basketball. My kid plays basketball, and I love playing basketball. And so I can teach a kid to play basketball. But in order to teach them to play basketball, I don't take them to tournaments and have them play games. I don't take 10 kids and substitute 5 at a time at these AAU tournaments and go, this is where my kids are going to learn to play basketball. Because they won't. It'll be a mess. Their skill-wise will be terrible. Okay? And that's not a bash on AAU. Maybe it is a little bit. But so if anyone's into basketball, they'll know what I'm talking about. But so here's how I teach a kid to play basketball. And this will make sense. Dog person or not, this should make sense. Because who here likes sports? I use sports all the time, analogies. So we've got a lot of sports people. So in order to play basketball, what do I need? I need a kid that can dribble. I need a kid that can shoot. I need a kid that can pass. Those are pretty core basics when it comes to a basketball player. If they can't dribble, we can't play a game. If they can't shoot, we can't play games. If they can't pass, we can't play games. So what do we do in order to develop a basketball player is, my old basketball coach used to put us in a cafeteria with chairs. That's how we became basketball players, because all we did was dribble around chairs for a lot of time. And we developed right hand first. And then we started to fit, because it was natural to us. Then we figured out how to dribble with our offhand. And then so we did a lot of dribbling. And then there's a camp that my kid goes to. It's a 1,000-shot camp. In 4 hours, they shoot 1,000 shots. Doesn't sound like a lot. Try it. I can't lift my arm up after 200. Like, they shoot 1,000 shots in one night in a row, over and over and over and over and over and over. And I watched it. 4.5 hours it took. It takes different time for different kids, but I watched it. Now, this camp is designed specifically as a shooting camp. And what it does is it's muscle memory. So it's these kids shoot, and it's designed, you start out with layups, like real close to the basket. You move out to 10 to 12 footers, then you go 12 to 15, then you get, by the end, you're shooting 3-pointers, by the end of the 1,000 shots. But in between there, you're shooting sets of free throws. So it's shoot, 25 shots and 25 free throws, and 25 shots and 25 free throws, 25, and you move around the basket, and you do this over and over and over again. If anyone was from a foreign land and came here and didn't know what basketball was, and they walked into the gym and saw all these kids do nothing but shoot hoops, they'd go, what is this? And you'd say, well, it's basketball. It's not basketball. It doesn't look anything like basketball. Basketball is a court with 5-on-5, and you dribble up and down, and you play offense and defense and all that stuff. That's hunting for me. The game is hunting for me. But to teach to get to the game, I send kids in gyms, and all they do is shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. Dribble. There's a drill where they just take a ball, and they pounce it off the ball, and they get closer, and then they move back, and they do all this stuff that has nothing to do with basketball directly. Has everything to do with it indirectly. So for the next 3 days, we're going to do a bunch of ball handling. And we're going to do a bunch of shooting. We're going to do a bunch of passing. And then by the end, we're going to start taking all those parts and pieces and connecting them. I like to look at them as links. They're individual links. So each skill I teach is a link, and then I connect it to the next one, and then I connect it to... Because a link by itself is not a chain. It's a link. But when I can take a bunch of links and put them together, I got a chain. And now I got a chain, and I can do a lot of stuff with a chain that I can't do with a link. So that's all our training is going to be. But as soon as we understand the idea of that's the macro. Now break it down into the micro, like it's each link. And then when it comes to the links, it's how do we build the link? Well, we need some stuff to build the actual link. So we're going to break this whole thing down and then build it back up. So a couple things we got to really, really understand. Dog training is nothing more than forming a habit. Repetition and consistency. I'll say that. Count it. I don't know. Put a counter on it. We'll have it on film. How many times will I say that this weekend? A lot. Because I'm going to be very repetitious and I'm going to be super consistent. I say those words more often than anything in a seminar. It's not by happen. It happens for a reason. So that's what we're doing, is we're just forming habits. Now, we have to understand that we are always training, and bad habits form just as quickly as good ones. So if we realize dogs learn by forming habits, and we understand that, and then we go, well, how come it doesn't do what I want it to do? Because back up, reverse engineer the whole thing, and figure out whatever that bad habit is that they're doing, it was trained in at some point. So we have to understand that the bad habits form just as quick, maybe quicker than the good ones. So as long as we get to that point and we go, they're always learning. We have a saying, and I'm a techie guy, I hashtag stuff. So I hashtag always learning, always training. As soon as my mindset changes to, I have to always be training because my dog is always learning, boy, things happen a lot easier. Because if I think about it this way, today I'm gonna have a window of opportunity, and I do this a lot, where I look at my schedule throughout the day because it varies a lot, and I go, I'm gonna have a window. I gotta take my kid to basketball practice. I've done this several times. It's an hour away from my house. So I take my kid to basketball practice, and for an hour and a half, I could sit in the truck and scroll through Facebook. Or I bring all my stuff with me, and I do a lesson in the parking lot of the church that my kid's playing basketball at, and I get a nice little lesson in. So I plan this all out ahead of time, and I realize I got a window there that I'm going to be able to train. Well, if I think about it that way and I go, all right, all my training will take place in that 10 to 15 minutes of free time today, the hour tomorrow, this, that. If I think about that, I'll get something accomplished in that short window of time. But everything else that happens in between it is what the real habits will form from. So I stop thinking about training 15 minutes at a time, and I go, I'm going to work on a skill for 15 minutes at a time, and then I'm going to practice it the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day, or however long I'm awake. She's in training right now, place training. She's been on place for how long? That's something I worked on in a short little window of time, and she's practicing it right now. Just because I'm not in a session right now or a drill doesn't mean my dog does whatever she wants. Because the idea is the majority of the time will form the habit. And if she's the majority of the time just doing what she wants to do, those are the habits that will stick. So we gotta start thinking along those lines. Avoiding bad habits is a lot easier than training bad habits out. Now, nobody here has a really, really little pup, but we got a couple that are under a year, right? Who's got one under a year? I call those really, that's 50%. That's really little puppies. Like really moldable puppies. So 2 years and younger, who's their 2 years and younger? That's everybody. You're the only one who's got one over 2 years old. So you're the only one that has a dog here. I call them puppies from 2 years old and younger. That's why I like these workshops. That's why I like young dogs in workshops. Because young dogs are blank slates. Now, if you've got a 2-year-old dog that has, you didn't get the dog till it was 2 months old. So if you've got a 2-year-old dog that has a year and 10 months of bad habits, we got our work cut out for us, no doubt about it. But nobody has that across the board. There's some good stuff there. We got to find it. And then we got to plug in the holes that are there surrounding it. We'll do that.